Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Wednesday. I know you white Christmas fans are really thinking, okay, where is it going to happen? All right. I don't have a snow cover map to show you because if there's snow on the ground, that counts as a white Christmas too. But I want to show you where snow is going to fall. And we're going to start with Friday daytime. And this is showing 24-hour snowfall. So you're going to see these areas kind of morph and change. It doesn't mean that areas are not getting it. It's just a matter of 24-hour segments. So this is through Friday evening. So from Thursday evening, 7 o'clock through Friday evening, 7 o'clock, you can see that there's snow going on through much of the Northwest, part of the Middle Mississippi Valley, back through parts of Colorado, southern Utah, northern Arizona, a little bit in New Mexico, and just a little bit in northern New England. So now I'm going to jump 24 hours to 1 a.m. Sunday. So this is the snow that would have fallen from 1 a.m. Saturday to 1 a.m. Sunday. And you can see how much it falls out in the west. Considerable snows fall, even almost to the coast in Washington and Oregon and Northern California, and in the mountains in California, Nevada, Utah, much of Arizona and elevated areas, of course, western New Mexico, western Colorado, good chunk of Montana into Wyoming. And here in the east now, we're seeing a coating to a couple of inches being indicated for Saturday with a system that's coming out of the southwest. And we're going to get to that in just a second. And then for Christmas Day, so this is ending at 1 a.m. on the 26th. So this would cover the snowfall that comes down on Christmas Day. And you can see Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, a real blizzard for parts of the Dakotas here and into northwestern Minnesota, as a deep storm is going to be going up well to the west of the Mississippi River, and west of Duluth, in fact, is where the low center is probably going to go as it heads towards James Bay. So that's the 24-hour snowfall. I'll show you the total snowfall that the model indicates between now and next Sunday, through next Sunday, and it's pretty extensive. It actually even comes down almost to parts of northern New Jersey and over to western Long Island and into Connecticut. So it has a shot, and certainly the model is suggesting here in the east that there could be a last-minute surprise in some places. The European model picked up on this today. I don't know if the atmosphere is going to be cold enough. One of my primary concerns is going to be the possibility that there could be some freezing rain and sleet in here rather than snow in southern areas. So temperatures kind of tenuous. So we're going to have to be cautious. And of course, the west gets some pretty hefty snows in a lot of areas. You can see where the blizzard is going to leave a foot or more in some places up in the eastern Dakotas and into northwestern Minnesota. So that takes care of the snowfall. Now I want to show you the long range, because there's been some changes in the model runs since yesterday. The European model has kind of hinted at this, and first off, let me get to a wider region and show you the European from dayside. And it actually has been doing this for several runs. But one of the things that's a lot of the long range lovers were pointing to this big ridge in the east, and that's going to happen for early next week. But what the European has been signaling over time, and the GFS began to pick up on this during late this afternoon, and it continues it tonight, is the development of a little vortex here in Canada. And you've got a ridge out here, you've got a ridge building up in the Gulf of Alaska. So this opens up a cold air supply to come into the east. We don't have the deep trough in the west and the big ridge in the east anymore. The European flattens that ridge and it's gone by the time we get to days 8, 9, and 10. So the GFS has picked up on this today, and I'll switch over to the GFS model now, and you can see that it's different. And this is why I have been saying it's different from what it was. And this is why I've been saying, with those of you that are fans of long range, but you're jumping from model run to model run, and you're just going to drive yourself nuts doing this. Okay, I think you need to just grasp two things. One is we seem to be in an exceptionally highly volatile state here in the atmosphere, which is really messing with models in a big way. And we're seeing these model flips and on some runs and not on others. I don't think there's a lot of dependability here going in the long term, and I think you have to accept that in terms of a forecast. I can't. For me, I don't understand. I've seen a lot of these blanket, unequivocal statements, and I don't get it. I mean, yeah, it could be that it's going to be a trough in the West and a ridge in the East, but I don't know how you can say that with such degree of confidence, considering what the models have done. Now, if we look at the GFS wants to make a colder look here over time. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it does have a colder look, and it does have a troughing in the east toward the end of the period. It's a gradual transformation that takes place that starts later next week and then continues through the first week of January. So we seem to be in this very long grinding process of getting somewhere. I don't know if this is the final outcome. I don't happen to think it is. But, again, I think we need to seriously keep an open mind in terms of where all this is going to wind up. Now, let's go to the short range because, suddenly there are things going on that I think we need to focus on. And I'm going to put up the precipitation map. And I'm going to back it up all the way to the beginning, if it would let me, and it has. Okay, so what's happening is there's a system off Baja California, and it actually has some tropical moisture with it, and that's what lifts up into the southwest here and moves eastward. By the way, at the same time, there's a deep low that comes in off the west coast, moves into Northern California, and makes its way up into Idaho, and redevelops down in Utah. And this is what's going to bring snows to the northwest and maybe even snows to the coast. And it also, actually, believe it or not, it shows dark blue down even into Southern California here. So that'll be interesting. There's a cold pool of air that drops down in the west. Meanwhile, the GFS has suddenly discovered that there's a system here coming out of the southwest with some moisture, and the European has actually been pretty bullish with this moisture, showing 1/4 to 1/2 inch amounts here on Saturday, and now brings through an area of precipitation through the northeast, and inland it's snow. And now I'm going to tell you, it's barely cold enough, but it is supported for snow away from the coast. The European today actually had 30 to 32 degree isotherm at the surface, pretty far to the south, down almost, through northern New Jersey, almost to New York City, and most all of New England was at 32 or less. And to me, that would, because of the marginal cold air that we have, it's not that cold aloft. I think that opens up a freezing rain sleet possibility for Saturday. So that's something we're going to have to pay attention to. Now, notice that there's a deep storm that moves out of the Rockies and heads up pretty far to the west. It goes up into Minnesota. So colder air, relatively colder air. This is not Arctic air. There's a big high that builds up into eastern Canada. So cold air winds up bleeding down the east coast at the surface, at least. So it's going to be pretty chilly in my view for Christmas Day and probably into the next day. But this storm goes so far west that the trailing cold front loses its moisture source, and by the time it reaches the east coast, there's very little with it. So I don't think we're going to get very much out of this. And then as the next system comes into the west, I want you to notice that it was just a number of runs ago that it made another major storm that it took into the central Great Lakes for later next week. Look at what's happened now. That major storm is gone. There's a cold front here. I'll draw it in for you, but you've got a front like this, and there's another front that's coming through here, a little warm front there. It's a totally flatter and different look, and that low winds up going northeastward, and then as the colder air starts to come in, it changes it over to snow in the northeast as we move toward later next week and beyond, and then we get just shots of cold air with cold fronts coming through every couple of days until we get to the end of the period, where there's a fairly cold air mass that builds into the eastern half of the United States. This is a totally different idea The last run of the GFS had this idea late this afternoon, and it's followed up with following through with a second run in the same direction. So I think, but the takeaway for me is that we're going to continue to focus on this model volatility from run to run until models figure out exactly what's going to happen. I will tell you, and I want to just show you here, in terms of the teleconnection indices that we look at, there's been some important changes that we have to pay attention to. The first one is this is the PNA, which is the Pacific North America Pattern Index. When it's strongly positive, it not only favors cold air in the east, but it also opens up the possibility of some storm development. And the PNA has been off the wall negative for a good chunk of this month, but it is forecast to rapidly move toward neutral and then to positive for the new year. At the same time, the North Atlantic Oscillation Index, the Greenland block, which has been off the wall positive, is forecast to decrease rapidly to neutral and then start to go negative as we go into the new year. So if you're a winter weather lover, these are two positive signs. Now, the one thing I would like to see is the East Pacific Index also go negative. It goes from strongly positive to near neutral to slightly positive to near neutral to slightly less positive. So, maybe the next move after January 3rd is for it to go negative as well. So we're going to watch these indices closely. I would prefer to have the EPO negative, the PNA positive, and the NAO to me is overstated. So if this one's positive and this one's negative, if you're a winter weather lover, you should be happy and not worry about the NAO so much because you can get storms without blocking. That's happened many times. It happened in the winter of 2014, 2015, where that's all that happened. We had the North Atlantic Oscillation was not even a factor. We had a positive NAO, which is not a blocking pattern, and yet we had pretty good snowstorms out of those. And in 2013, 2014, same thing. So you don't need this necessarily, but it's when you have all three, positive, negative, and negative, that you could wind up with some pretty hefty storms here in the eastern states. So we're going to be watching these trends very closely as we go forward. All right, at this point, let me just say, in case you guys are taking some time off for Christmas, which you really should. Merry Christmas to you and to your families. Thank you for being here. Thank you for posting your comments. I really appreciate all of them. And as you see, I'm really making an effort to stay engaged, and I will continue to make that effort. If you have any suggestions or ideas, I'm certainly open to them. So by all means, let me know, either in a message, or you can, I think that my email is up there somewhere, but it's on my website, meteorologistjoechaffe.com. Of course, don't forget SS Storm Chasers, very important during storm situations. And if you like, download my weather app and subscribe to my forecast for the New York, New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, Hudson Valley, and Eastern Pennsylvania area. The app is free, and the forecasts are updated at least twice a day, if not more, and just 99 cents a month. And you get an ad-free experience, and you get more specific forecasts for the areas that I mentioned. So have a great Christmas. I will be still putting up videos, but I might slacken off a little bit, so I might skip a day here and there if just to take a break. But have a Merry Christmas to my Jewish friends. Have a wonderful Hanukkah, which begins on Saturday, along with Christmas Eve, both on the same day. I will be I'm a tenor in my church choir, so I will be singing at the St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Church in Lake Ronkonkoma, New York. Tenors are very sensitive. We're very touchy. So I have a lot to do during Christmas time. I sing at two masses, of course, and there's family. My children will be home. So, this is all good stuff. And please make sure to take the time out to enjoy yourselves and enjoy your family and have a great Christmas. And we will see you on Thursday with the latest video, or sooner if conditions warrant.